on, beautiful people? This is me, the Infinity Midwife, coming to you once again. Y'all listen, guys. I was sleeping. Okay? And I got the message that I needed to wake up. And then when I did, I started meditating. And then that's just when I got another download. So it's still pertaining to, I hope you guys are doing well, taking care of yourselves, taking care of your minds, your hearts, and your entire being. Okay. Now, this video was still pertaining to the curse, right? The higher perspective playlist. So it goes in the same line. I feel like it was just something big that was coming in, and now we're deconstructing the information. Okay. So, yes, the title of the video is "What is a Curse Breaker?" Okay. So what we're going to find out in this video is basically, I talked about what is a curse, the different types of curses that we experience in this realm and above. And so we're going to dive deeper into, what is a curse breaker, and then how it can look like, because it is going to be unique to every individual walking this earth. Okay. It's going to be unique because we all have, again, a soul signature. Okay. Our soul signature is like a code. Okay. It's like a I'm not into computers, right? But it's like the hardware of a computer is what I want to say. So a soul mission or a soul signature or a soul code is basically like it's the hardware of a computer. Okay. And the hardware of a computer is going to be designed with, a unique programming to it, okay, or a specific encoding to it. So it's going to be different from one individual to another, okay? Okay, so let's keep on going. So what is a curse breaker? A curse breaker is literally a soul. So I want to say a soul that has awakened and that realized that it exists. Okay, that it exists, and that it exists way past our meat suit and this vessel in which we arrived. Okay, and way broader than this limited 3D identity that, people or entities or organizations wants us to be limited to. Okay, this 3D meat suit or vessel. Okay. Wait, I want to come back to this information. So this 3D meat suit is the limited version of our identity, right? It's based in this realm, and with this meat suit, okay, in which everybody has a soul, okay, or this hardware within. Okay, and so someone who breaks curses, I don't want to say it's a hacker, but I don't know why I'm getting that. But so it's kind of like a hacker, okay? So it's going to find out. So it's going to dig deep into the hardware and find out that the different programming that was in the hardware was not in alignment with the masterpiece or the motherboard, la carte maîtresse. Oh my god, I don't even know what I'm saying. So like there's this encoded or piece that that is like the key to each and every soul, okay, in which individuals have all access to, okay. And in that key is encoded, it's like I want to say a software or a program where, you're going to find a code, and that code can be, that code can be a unique set or series of zeros and ones, okay? 0 representing the feminine aspect or the feminine essence, and 1 representing the masculine aspect. And the code is going to be unique to each and every soul, okay? So the hacker, or the consciousness, or the awareness that realizes that, it can break through certain barriers, it can break through certain limitations, is going to want to access to that key, right? With that key, is going to be able to do many, many things in the web, in the World Wide Web, right? So we call them hackers, but in real life, it's just people that realize that, or individuals, or a human being that realize that he's way larger than just this meat suit, okay? He is a vessel. I like to say vessel because, again, when I think of a vessel, I think of Star Wars, spaceships, right? You see how much they're big, right? When you look at them from the external, or, whoever produced Star Wars, had a form of imagination that went beyond, our limited minds. And so when you look at the spaceship from the external, you look at it, it looks like a brain, right? With so many chambers, with so many functions within that spaceship. And so I feel like, that code, that key that is unique to each and every soul is in that spaceship, or is in that vessel, or that vessel hides it, right? And there's always in those spaceships, you will find that there's this one chamber, right, that holds, or that is the I want to say it's the main chamber where you have access to all functions, where you have access to all, where you have access to that motherboard, right? Or that unique code, and that controls the entire spaceship or the entire vessel, okay? And so hold on, you guys. Oh my God. This is my son. Let me come back to you guys. Just a minute. Okay, sorry you guys. This is the first time that happened, so I cannot control the live, and I did not want to stop it, so it is what it is. I do apologize. So again, to get back to what I was saying, right? We are all a spaceship, or I like to call it a vessel. And in that spaceship, again, there's this chamber, this main chamber where you're going to have all the functions. You're going to have that motherboard, or you're going to have access to that unique code, right? That's gonna allow the spaceship, or allow for your vessel to expand, to have that knowing, not only to have that inner knowing of all the chambers that exist within you, but as well to connect with other, or to have information of, other spaceships around you, to have access to other dimensions or worlds or planets that do exist in that realm or beyond that realm. Okay. And so a curse breaker is ultimately an evolved soul or a curse breaker is kind of like a hacker, again, like I said, who realizes that, he can bypass certain protocols. So he has access with his own key, okay, or with any other type of combination of keys to, realizing that, on this World Wide Web, money is not just, literal money or paper money, right? It is a transaction. It is something that can be created from a code, or it can be created out of nothing. Okay. So when hackers are in this World Wide Web and they are surfing those different worlds, they realize the greatness and the illusions, right? They realize the possibilities and the limitations or the illusions that were placed on, the World Wide Web. Okay. And so they start utilizing their inner knowing, or, those keys that I was mentioning. And then they start, creating their own world, right? And it's been happening ever since, the World Wide Web was created. And law enforcement, government, institution always wanted to control that, because they knew that by creating the World Wide Web, you would have people, individuals that would, want to break in, or, understand the ins and the outs, and, realize that there's a bigger potential with what, we are being served on a platter through those different websites, those different chambers, those different accesses that not everybody is aware of, right? So the same, just to get back to what is a curse breaker is going to be an individual that has an evolved soul with that inner knowing, or that truth regarding his own capacities, his own possibilities and limitations. You understand? Because once that individual with that inner knowing, so that has access to that code or that unique key or that soul purpose or that soul mission, will start tapping in. Okay, we'll start utilizing those keys, that code, that mission, in order to break certain limitations, right? Just like a hacker would, bypass certain security measures or walls, right? They are also capable of creating their own walls. They're also capable of creating their own viruses. So you have to be smart. You have to be, I want to say, street smart. I also want to say, you have to have a certain adaptability. You have to be able to adapt to understand that, all this is a realm of possibilities, of infinite possibilities. And hackers know that about the World Wide Web. But imagine that the World Wide Web is, as we are evolving in this realm, the World Wide Web is becoming more and more part of our reality. I want to say our material reality, right? With artificial intelligence, with, technology being used to communicate with one another, with just all these advanced technologies, right? So it really evolved over, I want to say, the last 50 years, right? Because computers is fairly recent, okay? Or I want to say maybe 70 years, okay? So when you understand that analogy, that analogy, you understand that you, the individual, the human, is you, the human, that chooses to be a curse breaker, or that chooses to break down certain limitations about your 3D identity. You start becoming a hacker. And now I want to take away the negative connotations that we like to put on hackers, because again, there are going to be some hackers that are there to help and protect. There are going to be hackers that are protagonists, that are antagonists as well, okay? But I'm going to say the purpose of all hackers ultimately is that they can get information, they are disillusioned about the World Wide Web, and they get to understand that this is a free world. This is a world of infinite possibilities, right? That whatever was told to us about the World Wide Web is not necessarily or only, that only possibility. There are infinite possibilities. And now there are many, institutions and entities that are trying to control that. But as we are stepping more and more into advanced technology, where the uses of artificial intelligence is being even more so, we're living in proximity with it. Many people are realizing that there are infinite possibilities to even existing in this realm, this 3D realm, right? So when you start tapping into your soul mission, your soul key, you start getting, you start breaking down certain limitations, right? And as I said earlier on in that other video, or in that previous video, you start breaking curses, or you start breaking contracts that were limiting the evolution of your soul, or the alignment of your soul, okay? Or the alignment of your vessel, or the alignment of your 3D identity with your soul, or your soul key, okay? And so once you start, now there are many forms in which you can start tapping into your soul key, okay, or into your soul mission. It's going to be very different from one individual to another. The main ones that we know of is through meditation and prayer, but there are infinite ways of accessing your soul key, or your soul mission, okay? It's going to be different from one individual to another, because again of that code, that unique soul signature that is unique to you is also going to be unique to you. So even if somebody want to hijack your vessel, they can do it to a certain degree, okay? Let's say someone wants to use your identity to become you, or even clone you, okay? They can do it to a certain degree, because whatever replica is going to be made out of you, or whatever thief or theft is going to be made out of you, they will never be able to replicate or to have access to that unique soul coding, okay? It's going to be only unique to you. You know how your print, right, your handprints are being used to, do facial recognition or identity recognition. All these new technologies are there to, yes, help us advance and live a better life as a society, but at the same time, they are replicating parts of your identity. But even that is not even enough to say that, we have control over you. Okay? We talk about chips being implanted. We talk about all these different technologies being, put in people's vessels in order to control them, or in order to better manage them, right? Manage them. But it is only to a certain degree. And there are many, many things that we can talk about today, but I don't want to talk about that. I mainly want to talk about what is a curse breaker. So ultimately, a curse breaker is a hacker or a hustler even, right? Because there's a certain knowing or inner knowing to when you start tapping into your soul key or your soul mission or your soul purpose. You start having a certain perspective, a higher perspective of knowing. You start walking different, talking different. You start thinking different. You start looking at things that are being pushed to you. You start looking at them differently, right? You start looking at the external world that exists as something that can be changed ultimately, because there's an actual key with all this information that will enable you to be in alignment with who you're destined to be. And that's just going to open doors to how you can create a certain reality for yourself. And that's what ultimately hackers do on the internet. They create realities for themselves, right? They know how to go and get money, create money. They know how to open accounts. They know how to bypass and get certain information. They know how to ultimately create a life for themselves, print passports. Like it's nothing, right? The possibilities are infinite, and that is the reason why we are being, I want to say, tracked down, right? Just like hackers are being tracked down by governments and institutions, many individuals that are on their awakened soul journey are going to be tracked as well by institutions, by those same entities, to stop the development or the immersion of awakened souls, right? Because when you start waking up and you realize that, you have a whole chamber of control you have a main chamber with so much information in it, with a world that existed in your spaceship that you weren't aware of. You come into the knowing of that. You realize that you can create a world of your own, and that you are the bigger influence, so that the world can start waking up, or that you can start creating a whole world for yourself that is no longer going to be influenced by this external reality that we've been fed with for a whole era. I want to say the era of bondage, right? So a curse breaker ultimately is someone that has that inner knowing that there is a masterpiece within, that there is a motherboard that has a soul signature that is unique to each and every individual. Once you start tapping in, you start getting information, you start getting downloads, and that's going to be different from each and every individual. It's going to be different and unique to each and every individual. Once you start tapping in, you start receiving information. Okay. When you know, on the internet, hackers have different pseudonames, right? You don't even know, first of, you know, some want to call them, you know, they have different names. You can't even know who is behind, you know, those pseudo names, right? Some are ghost writers. Some are, you know, they have all these different, they have all these names that they gave to themselves. I want to use Neo in the Matrix, where, you know, there's this hacker, what is her name again? Damn. Where, you know, she is one of the biggest hackers of all time, right? And then Neo get to meet her. Damn, what's her name? If you know her name, then good. And he finds out that first of all, it's a woman. And, you know, she's been, you know, having access not only to the internet, but she's been creating a world for herself because she has, so there is an analogy. So I'm not even going to get into this because the Matrix in and of itself is the story of the Bible, is, you know, it's a metaphor for what's actually going on within you, right? So it's a whole story, and I don't want to start going there, but I'm just trying to tell you that there is the same analogy that applies to our everyday lives. Once you start tapping into your soul unique signature code, you're going to start looking at the world differently. You're going to start, you know, looking at people, relationships, the way you think, your values, your beliefs. You're going to want to start breaking curses because you're going to realize that the external world is an illusion ultimately, and that the internal world that you create for yourself is what becomes your reality, right? If you are tapped in, if you listen in, right? If it's just like a frequency, right? It's just like a frequency. So your soul signature is just like it's just like a frequency. The more you vibe, or the more you tune into that frequency, the more you feed it as well, the more that world starts becoming that reality for you. However you feed it, right? Because you can feed it with good intentions, bad intentions, good thoughts, bad thoughts. You can feed it with many, many things. Okay? Now, I do want to say the way you're going to start breaking curses is going to be different from one individual to another. But I do want to say that there are four different types of curse, of how you're going to break those curses, of curse breaking. And I'm referring back to the elements, okay? And then there are just derivative of those four ways of breaking curses, right? So out of those four ways, there's just infinite possibilities that comes out of it, okay? But I'm referring here to the four elements. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with The Last Airbender, right? That's one of my favorite animation. But when you watch that series, you realize that every nation, even though there's the airbenders, there's the firebenders, there's the waterbenders, there's the earthbenders, there's still different unique, I want to say, speciality, or each and every bender do it differently, right? They do it differently because they've probably received that gift differently. They probably done it a certain way and it worked for them, and so they kept doing it a certain way. So the way you start utilizing your bending, or your, you know, how you utilize, or how you, I don't want to say exploit, I want to say utilize, how you utilize your soul coding is going to be different from one individual to another. But it's not but, it is and. You're going to be, right? Some are going to be able to tap in and utilize it with fire bending, And when I say fire bending, I'm ultimately speaking of creativity, right? Passions, the fire element, right? So whatever pertains to the fire element, some are going to be very well versed in it. Some is going to be water, right? The water element. So let's just say, I'm just using the analogy of the series of the Last Airbenders. Some water benders are going to be, able to adapt, able to transform, able to heal, able to do many, many things. And that's just part of their soul key, or their soul signature. Okay. Some's going to be earth element, and the earth element is going to be about, managing resources, building stability, foundations, structures, systems, right? And then some is going to be the air element, right? Psychology, how you think, how you communicate, how other people communicate. So it's going to be unique from every individual to another. And out of those four, there's going to be different combinations as well, right? Some is going to be air and fire. Some is going to be water and earth. So it's going to be different and unique from each and every individual. And then the list goes on, right? So there are infinite combinations that can come out of earth, air, water, fire, right? So the type of bending or techniques that you're going to start utilizing once you start tapping into your unique code signature is going to be unique to you, right? Because out of that 3D identity, out of that life experience you had, out of that uniqueness that you have, the way that you think, that you act, you talk, you hold value, you have access to certain beliefs, the way all these things are going to be going to be encoded on that motherboard, or in that chamber, right? And once you start tapping into that, you're going to realize that there was a whole bunch of contracts that you were carrying in your backpack that were just illusions, or that was null, or that you needed to void them in order to, get into your right identity that is broader, that is wider, that is infinite, right? Much more infinite and grand than what you've been told. Okay. I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I'm talking a whole lot. It's just funny because as I was waking up out of my bed, I was trying to put the information together, and I was like, how am I gonna present this? And I just kept hearing, do it. Just do it. It's gonna come as you do it. So I was like, okay. But I trusted it. And then here I am talking for 33 minutes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, what is a curse breaker, you ask? What is a curse breaker, you ask? Ultimately, a curse breaker is someone who is courageous enough to break free from limitations, illusions, beliefs, systems of beliefs, in order to really hold on to a truth that is representative, or that represent a unique expression of God, is what I want to say. So on that note, you guys, I'm not going to keep you too long. It's past midnight. I'm waking up early in the morning. Got shit to do. So it is what it is. Have a good night, y'all. Take care of your minds, your hearts, and your entire being. And I'll see y'all the next time. And please, if you are interested in what I'm saying to you, I'm thinking that I'm probably going live at night. So if ever you are interested in, following up with what I'm saying, or getting, getting the fresh downloads as I get them, turn on your post notifications, and you will have access to whatever I am sharing. Okay? Stay blessed.